Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. The topic of this 10-minute moan is how Kate Forbes could put a spanner in the works and cause, potentially, an election, which the SNP won't be too happy about. Now, before I start, I've played about with the camera settings, right? A load of folk thought I'd jaundice this morning when I put out a video. These cameras, I've had them for about 2 or 3 months now. I'm still not used to the settings. So please bear with me, and thanks very much for those who are concerned about my well-being. However, many of you ask how you can help the channel. Well, you can subscribe or you can actually become a member. But the easiest thing to do, thumbs up down there, click it, does wonders for the reach. So thanks for doing that. Anyway, back to Kate Forbes. Kate Forbes is mentioned in the Telegraph and gone over a recent poll results that suggest she's more popular than John Swinney for the new SNP leader. First survey since Humza Yousaf announced resignations finds voters prefer Miss Forbes to Mr Swinney despite his popularity amongst SNP supporters. Kate Forbes is more popular by the Scottish public to take over as First Minister than SNP favourite John Swinney. The Ipsos survey, the first since Humza Yousaf announced his resignation, found 26% of voters named Ms Forbes as their preferred option when presented with a list of possible candidates, compared to 20% for Mr Swinney. But 30% of SNP supporters said Swinney was their top candidate, while only 21% named Ms Forbes. They also believed he was more likely to do a good job. The poll also showed that the majority of Scots, 81%, believed Mr Yousaf was right to resign on Monday, and more than half said he had made no difference to life in Scotland during his first year as First Minister. The figure increased to 60% among those who voted SNP in the 2021 Holyrood election. The same proportion also said he had made the wrong decision ripping up his coalition deal with the Scottish Greens, the botched handling of which led to him quitting. The poll was published after Ms Forbes dropped her strongest hint yet that she will stand in the SNP leadership contest, disclosing she had received a groundswell of support. The former Scottish Finance Secretary publicly confirmed for the first time that she was weighing up putting her name forward to replace Mr Yousaf as SNP leader and First Minister. She also stood in last year's contest to replace Nicola Sturgeon, only to lose to Mr Yousaf by a margin of 52% to 48%, despite him having the backing of the entire party establishment. Although she praised Mr Swinney, who was Deputy First Minister in Nicola Sturgeon's government, she argued that Mr Yousaf's successor should not be crowned without a contest. Interesting. Miss Forbes told Sky News that SNP members need to be behind the next leader, and the selection process must take account of their views, something that will not happen with a coronation. Her allies also pleaded with her to put her name forward, warning the SNP needs to look outside the bubble by selecting the candidate who is most popular with all voters rather than just party members. Now, this is a bit bizarre because many are predicting there will be no contest because the SNP want to put a candidate up themselves who will appease at least one other party in Holyrood. They will need to. Because, let's say, for example, they pick Ms Forbes, who is probably the best candidate for all honesty, but is certainly not going to receive the backing of the Greens, possibly not even the backing of Alba. So if they pick her as a leader, they then need to put her in front of Parliament, who then vote if they want to accept her as First Minister, which are two different roles. Currently, the SNP have got 63 maximum votes, because you have to turn up and you have to be there. Matheson and Sturgeon tend not to go to Parliament now. So you would have a maximum of 66 votes in a place that holds 127 votes, 128 MSPs, but the Speaker, or the presiding officer as we call them in Holyrood, doesn't get to vote unless there's a tie, which is a different matter. So whoever is the SNP leader will need to get the support of Alba and or the Greens. Miss Forbes ain't going to do that. So if they put up a candidate to be First Minister that Parliament doesn't agree with, then they have 28 days to find another one. And if that doesn't happen, we go to an election. So, many are predicting that the SNP party don't want to have a First Leader competition because the outcome is then down to the members. You see, this is the party who always cry for democracy. They don't want to be democratic here and give their members the vote in case their members pick an unsuitable candidate which Parliament would not accept as a First Minister, and the ball is in the slates because they could then lead 28 days later into an election. They don't want an election. They can't afford an election. But one other thing that became public yesterday, my friend Mark Ziggy, who does his own podcasts on YouTube, is worth a look. He had an ex-MSP on his show doing an interview, I believe it was yesterday, where this man claimed the SNP won't want a party leader contest because then they would also need to produce and make public the amount of members that would be able to vote in the said party leader contest. So there's two reasons the SNP may not wish to have a contest for their first leadership role. And that is, one, obviously, the members would need to be divulged, and two, it could lead to an election if they don't pick a candidate that's going to be suitable to at least one other party inside Holyrood. So, tough days ahead. I still predict, though, that someone will have a nice wee word in Miss Forbes' ear and try putting her off, putting up herself as a candidate, and indeed trying to get no candidates to put herself up apart from their chosen one, who seems to be Swinney. Because if they only have one candidate, there is no contest, there is no vote for the members, they don't have to divulge their membership numbers, and they can pick the person who they feel is most easily going to appease the Greens and or Alba, or Alaba, as we're now finding it over the last 40 hours. It seems that that's how you pronounce what I thought was the Alba Party, because it's spelled A-L-B-A, Alba, but apparently it's Alaba. I'm not sure how that gets there. So there we go. We are early days. I mean, Humza only wrapped it yesterday, and already there's a bit of uncertainty about what's going to happen next. As I say, I would predict, if I had to put a charity bet on it, that Swinney would be the preferred option for the SNP without a contest, and then they would probably know before now if the Greens and or Alaba would be happy with him. So we're in a bizarre position, actually, where it will not be the SNP, their members or party, that are going to pick who is the next First Minister of Scotland. It's actually going to be down to the Greens or Kate Forbes. That is, unless Tory, Labour or Lib Dems could potentially vote for an SNP First Minister, and I don't see why any of them would, when they've already said they've got no faith in the party. So that'll be interesting to see how this pans out, and I would love Katie Forbes to put herself up for election, because then she could actually think about it. She could probably checkmate them and actually withdraw all the other candidates, and then hope, keep your fingers crossed, do a deal with Greens. It's not going to happen. But that's a possibility as well. So the whole thing is up in the air, and I'm quite enjoying it. But my preference would be that we just go to an election, and there's a few routes to make that possible. So I'll keep my fingers crossed, but I'm still thinking and predicting the probable outcome is Swinney, sole candidate, no election process, no divulging of figures, no chance of putting somebody in that could upset the Greens and or Alba, and then he'll get presented to the Parliament, and the Greens at least will vote for him to be the First Minister, and we'll carry on as normal. But I hope I'm wrong. So, as I say in all my videos, if you quite like it, give us a thumbs up, and as long as you're not any of the SNP or the vastly reducing number of cult members, Everyone else, have a great day. Cheery bye now.